The Real Estate Photography Podcast is brought to you by tourbuzz.net, high-definition virtual tour and photograph hosting, now with interactive floor plans. Sign up for your free trial today. Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Photography Podcast with Mike Muriello. This is episode 120, raw tip number 1. Quite honestly, I do not know how many raw tips there could be, but we'll see how that goes. If you listen to the interview with Ra and Paul from Las Vegas Pics, you probably picked up that we talked about RAW for a brief second, that they didn't use it. Well, after we stopped recording, we started talking about RAW some more, and I figured I'd share some stuff about our conversation. Basically, what I've got here, I just want to give a demonstration on something real estate oriented, and then I'll veer away, even though I don't usually do this. I'll veer away from real estate for a second just to demonstrate a point. With RAW, okay, let me just back up. Look, here's the RAW file .nef, and then here's the JPEG file. You're not going to see a difference, honestly. Maybe if you're a pixel peeper, you will, but there's no difference for all intents and purposes between this photo and that photo. It's just not. There's no difference in the way it looks. When you go to edit it, it's a whole nother story. This raw photo is, you're going to be editing pixel for pixel raw data. When you're editing the JPEG, you're editing compressed data. You're basically editing a compressed batch of information. Over here, it's still pixel for pixel, undeveloped, unprocessed, which is why you need RAW software to view it and do anything with it. So just to demonstrate my point, I just wanted to talk about white balance. This is the reason, for the most part, why I shoot RAW, because it's so flexible after the fact to go ahead and pick and choose white balance. And I'll show you, this is a good example, because what we have up here over in Lightroom, you've got your white balance. It's the very first thing you see, and it's probably one of the first things you should do anyway, is take a look at your white balance. I'm not going to talk about Lightroom things, but you see how it says 3800? That's the color temperature. And what you can do in RAW is adjust the color temperature one way or the other. But check this out. When I flip over to the JPEG, we lose the value, the exact temperature of color. And now we're editing basically a value off of 0. So 0 becomes the norm, whereas when you're shooting a RAW file, you actually have control over the temperature. The other thing is, when you edit the color temperature of a JPEG, you're editing all that compressed data, and it's making more of an approximation than when you're actually editing a RAW file, because nothing's ever been written in stone or written in JPEG. That's, I don't know. Can I coin that expression? Written in JPEG? It's kind of lame, but you can see it from the naked eye. There's not much going on, but watch this. So I've already took that all the way down to 2000. Ready? I'll take the JPEG all the way down too, and let's do a quick compare. Here is the one on the left is the JPEG. The one on the right is the RAW, only because I goofed up the select versus candidate. I'll go ahead and I'll do it the other way around so we don't go crazy. The left is the RAW, the right is the JPEG. Now, I'm not saying one of these is more superior or less superior. I'm just saying, do you see the difference? There definitely is a difference. So let's go back into here, and I'll show you again. Pump up the RAW, pump up the JPEG, and we'll come back to this one. And once again, there is a difference. This is and it's a much more rich and filling, because it's, like I said before, I don't want to repeat myself too many times, it's actually editing the pixels. This is editing clusters of compressed data. Totally different. And I could do the same thing to the tint, right? Because there's a right here, tint. You can do the same thing with the tint. It's the same difference. It's once again, it's editing compressed stuff. Okay, I'm not going to beat you over the head with that. Now, I'm going to step away from real estate photography for a second, because I thought this was the absolute best way to show you what the difference is between pixel for pixel recorded information versus compressed data. And there's a reason why your RAW file is twice or 3 times the size of your JPEG. And here it is. This is intentionally underexposed, obviously, to get a silhouette, to get that silhouette effect, whatever. But if you can see, this is in a covered bridge, and you can blah, blah, blah. This isn't real estate, so I'll try and make this quick. Watch when you pump up the fill light, you can see all this data that has been sitting there. It's just underneath. Doesn't look as good, but it's still there. Go into the JPEG, do the same exact thing, and watch what happens. This is, if you could compare percentage-wise, the data that's in the RAW versus the data that's in the JPEG, night and day. Now, just to further this point, boost the darks a little bit, a lot, and you can see even they have data written into them. It's I don't know how to say it any better than what you're seeing on the screen. Do the same thing with the JPEG. Basically nothing happens. They don't have any data on them. There's nothing going on over here. It is told when it's written into the JPEG file, these are black. This one, this is the actual value of the pixel, and then when you edit it later, you can get it. Okay. I think that makes a point. So don't forget, please shoot in RAW. You can always export and change everything you want after the fact and get it down to the JPEG size you want. You don't have to deliver your photos in RAW, nor would you want to. But for the sake of editing and doing all, basically, if half of your workflow is done in post, make sure you're giving yourself the greatest amount of information to work with. All right, thanks for listening. Bye.